The Hangout is live. So, Dustin, don't worry about keeping your game face on because this is the raw version of a produced show that we're going to do, right? So,
definitely.
We can talk about the inside baseball stuff and what we're going to cut out and stuff during the show because, you know, this is the raw stuff, you know? So, who's going to start this? Me?
Yes. You're going to introduce me to do the headlines, remember? Dun, dun, dun.
You press the button to go live, and it's like, oh, what was I going to do?
Uh-oh. Whoops. Hello.
So the music. And then we get into the point where it says, Ron says, welcome to this month in model railroad news. Sometimes we're going to have news about railroads. This is going to be model railroad news today. No, we got Railfan stuff too, don't we? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start that over. Welcome to this month in model railroad news. I got my buddy Dustin Fisher here, and we're going to run through a bit of the news that we've collected over the past month. Well, in this episode, it's going to be the past week because we came up with the idea last week. But in future episodes, we're going to collect news over the month and bring the best or most interesting news that'll strike conversations in social media and maybe your local club. So, hi, Dustin. How are you doing? What's the headlines today?
Good, Ron. Thank you. In today's headlines, we have what caused Allied model trains to close their doors after 69 years in business. Next, what is the news on the state of Texas restoring passenger rail service in certain areas? And then up is why are the FBI and FAA targeting drone hobbyists? Then will be followed with what is Operation Lifesaver doing to warn people about selfies on the main tracks? Next is what is happening with passenger rail service in the Midwest areas such as Oklahoma, Kansas, and the Northeast area such as Pennsylvania and the Northeastern states. Next is what can we expect from the NMRA Convention in Portland, Oregon this month? And I want to highlight this. This could be interesting. What's all the buzz about OCTSF this year? And then the biggest thing is, what can we look forward to in the fall lineup of the Model Railroad and Structure Show? Then we follow it. What has Walthers come out with next?
Awesome. Awesome. Good job, Dustin. I like how you kind of elaborated on those a little bit. So, So the first one is what caused Allied model trains to close their doors after 69 years? Now this is an article from trains.com, which is model railroader.
Yes, sir.
Let's break into it, buddy.
Okay, we'll do. Here we go. Okay, the question remains is what has caused such a long-term, long-standing model train shop in the community to close their doors after 69 years? Well, let's dissect this a little bit. According to Model Railroader magazine, Allied Trains was one of the largest model train shops in the Los Angeles area and its oldest model train and hobby shop. Allied opened its doors in 1946 in West Los Angeles area with a large, highly stocked store on the Pico Boulevard as their longest storefront. 1989, they moved to nearby Culver City to a custom-designed building fashioned after LA's Union City Station.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good deal. That's awesome. And then in 2007, the store owner, Alan Drucker, sold the store and leased the Union Station building to local photography retailers and also other artists and small businesses in the area. as a point to make a income and a living. It also indicated here there was no closing sale. The store stock is expected to be moved to the original Whistle Stop in Pasadena, which we actually have a Whistle Stop here in Oklahoma City that is an affiliate of that Whistle Stop.
Does that look like the store?
Let me see here.
Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that is the that is a replica of what they call the original Pasadena Pasadena Railway Union Station.
Uh-huh. Cool. It's pretty
Which
neat.
is a phenomenal building, yeah.
Yeah, pretty neat that you can do that with your hobby and really present to the hobby. Well, why are they closing, is the question, and I think the simple answer is locally, the demographics of their hobby just was allowed to gain other interests,
Yeah. And Ron, and the other thing is I did a little research on the hobby in the area, and a lot of your hobbyists were going to online sales to purchase stuff.
Well, that's a big point that should be brought across. The most hobby shops have their they have an employee at the desk and they have to pay that person, right? And a lot of them are making these people who are working at the desk do double duty to make sure that the store is online and selling stuff online. And some of them are totally ignoring that, when, maybe these shops would do well to get a younger person in the hobby who has a grasp of social media and the internet itself to push digital discovery,
And see, I've talked to my own Whistle Stop down here, and I have been his only customer in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I asked him the question the other day. I said, why? He said, are you questioning how I do business? I said, no. I said, I want you to ask yourself the question, why has Dustin been the only customer in here in 3 or 4 weeks when there's lots of model railroad hobbyists in this state? You just got to find them. But there are a lot of model railroad hobbyists in this state. I said, I want you to ask yourself, I said, I have an MBA. I said, I'm a little younger. I said, I know you've been in business for 34 years. I said, ask yourself the question, why?
Mm-hmm.
And I said 2 words, online presence. I said, yes, you have a website. You have a simple website. But the problem with your online presence is if somebody from out of state comes across your shop and wants to order something from you, they have to call with the item number and call you directly to place an order with you. But if you were set up correctly with PayPal, credit card processing, and an entire inventory list of what you have for sale, and you set you up a shipping division, you could be selling to model railroaders in a 5 to 10 state region within ease.
Yeah.
And he sat back and he looked at me. He said, I may be paying you to take this over one day.
Well, the thing is, I get feedback. The thing is that, we've got this, people are, once you go online, people are afraid to use the phone, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
Number one, people somehow are afraid to, I hate using the phone myself.
And it's not convenient to them, Ron. When you can go on a website on your smartphone and order the next, I'm going to throw out a name, Atlas GP40 locomotive.
Yeah, but they've got free Skype, where somebody could press a link on their website and if they are, prepared at the shop with the computer open and it does its ring-a-dingy-dingy when somebody has a question on demand, because this is the world that we're in. If you go on demand where people can call you and ask about a product and you say, oh, that's model number, and you provide them the little intricacies that your hobby shop is required. If you're not going by the product name, then you can't put the onus on your customer to find that product number as opposed to the product name. You got to pick up the book. This is what customer service is.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, Ron, is I found out, and I asked him, I said, can I look at your computer system you're using in the store? I said, just as a business person that's evaluating small business technology, I said, can I look at your computer? And he said, sure. It was a Apple with a 1987 stamp date on it.
My goodness. I wouldn't even.
And so I looked at him, I said, this is your problem right here. The reason why you're out of touch with your model railroad community is this needs to be replaced by a 2014 or newer computer that you can reach out to the world with your hobby shop.
No, he could
start with upgrading your computer system. As a hobby shop, you would be in so much better position to where somebody could come in and create an interactive website, set you up to take Skype calls, and have you a social media presence. But I said you're hiring somebody outside of your shop to do that because you could actually save money by upgrading your computer system and have an employee who understands the hobby and understands social media help you bring this to life. And I think that's exactly what Allied was doing, is they restricted their customer base to the walk-in customer. And it just wasn't helping them keep their doors open.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that this customer service and the hobby shops are often fixing trains. You can't get that from the internet unless you want to do it yourself. And I've never been good with that kind of stuff.
Neither have I. I like this, so.
I agree with you on all your points except for one point.
Okay.
A 2005 computer can do all that stuff too, and it's probably $100. It's probably $100. Apple and everybody made fun of the Google Chromebook. That doesn't have any onboard, like it's basically a internet computer, an internet portal console. That's what a Chromebook is. It doesn't run programs. It runs web apps. It runs web pages and stuff like that. It's $200 for the fastest darn computer you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's a Chromebook could run an entire hobby shop. Actually, I don't know if Skype's available on Chromebook. That's a good point. A normal Windows computer, as long as you've got Skype going into the speaker system into the shop, so that when somebody calls in Skype, it's the same as hearing the telephone in the hobby shop. When you hear the telephone, it's like you hear that ring from the front to the back.
Yeah, exactly.
And that should be, Skype shouldn't be a secondary citizen. Or Google Hangouts. We're using Google Hangouts, but a lot of older people, they're step by step with technology, and I know that Skype was first to the game, so a lot of people only think that Skype is the only way, and maybe that's how you get the happy medium.
And the other thing is too, Ron, is if you set up your Facebook page correctly with your business, you can actually receive messages into your business page, and you can answer them through a live chat conversation with the individual that's asking you a question about your product. You know how many messages I receive from potential donors on my OCTSF page that we actually can interact with as employees of the foundation, that
Yeah.
really we can interact with them through a live message system that's built into a Facebook page for businesses.
Yeah, and for people who have a hobby shop and are listening to this conversation right now, you might notice that we didn't once talk about advertising. We didn't once talk about spending money on something that is not going to immediately affect your business. You know, like if you hire a young kid, and God forbid hiring a citizen of your own country, man, you know, this is what we're talking about all the time. You know, like young kids are disillusioned because they can't get the jobs, you know, and why is the hobby dying? Well, maybe because we're not allowing them to be a part of the hobby.
Yeah, and can you imagine in between social media interactions what that kid can learn from your repair technician in your shop? You may have a dual purpose employee there by the time it's all said and done. If you get them set up to run your social media and your online presence, in between times they could be being trained by the tech to help them with repairs, and you could double your chance of having more customers for repairs because you have a second set of hands.
Heck, you might have the next Lionel Strang in your back room and you don't even know it.
That's true. That's true.
On that note, let's move to the next story.
Okay, the next story is, what is the news on the state of Texas restoring passenger rail service in their area? Well, the San Antonio City Council received a grant request from the Lone Star State region to basically move their BNSF freight line 487 yards over to the main line so they could extend a passenger rail line between restored passenger depots in Austin, San Antonio, Denton, and Fort Worth, and then they can connect and catch an Amtrak train to Oklahoma City, Kansas City, etc. And the city council was a little livid at first about the proposal, according to the article. Let me pull it up here.
I've got it.
Okay, thank you. And according to the article, the city council was a little bit livid about spending $500,000, but the Lone Star Rail District and BNSF worked together to put together a proposal to show them how much tax revenue the city of San Antonio and the area cities that would have stops would benefit from ticket revenue and tourism. Which I think honestly, up here in Oklahoma City, Ron, the reason why we're the heart of the Midwest is because our tourism has exploded down here.
Yeah.
And so we're able to do things to increase the infrastructure of our cities, create urban places where people can have fun, hang out, be families, you know, stuff like that. And it's all because we have a thriving passenger rail service that brings in extra tax revenue. Amtrak runs from Oklahoma City to Fort Worth right now.
Well, and locally, I don't know what the history of Texas is. I imagine it's a much alike. But locally in Ontario, Canada, where I'm from, there's the railway city is St. Thomas, Ontario, and there used to be the C&O, CASO, which is Canada Southern. There used to be 5 railroads: the Wabash, the Michigan Central, and another one. I know I'm missing one. Maybe it's CN or Canadian Pacific.
Canadian National.
Grand Trunk, because that was pre-Canadian National CP. So, you know, the railway city is where they serviced all the engines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't Grand Trunk because they were in Stratford.
Yeah.
Okay, but whatever. And what you used to do in the not pre-1950s was jump on an interurban car from the city of London, Ontario, which is a city of 500,000 people, and take that interurban car out to the beach at Port Stanley.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
that entire rail line is still there except for 100 feet of rail in St. Thomas. And they finally got the funding to reconnect it. It's a $600,000 project and you know, like, could you believe it if they actually restored an interurban car so that you could sit there and, you know, even if you had to sweat in no air conditioning in that thing, it would be a day trip that you would remember for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the thing about with passenger rail service, with, you know, just as an example, Ron, with the price of flights going up and the price of gas fluctuating constantly, people are looking for a consistent, unique, inexpensive way to travel. And I believe that the era of the passenger rail service really brought that to life, even before planes and before we had all the automobiles on the ground. And I think bringing that back is a unique way. Can you imagine, like you said, with your rail car, you know, travel? Can you imagine? Let's say I wanted to take my son to a Texas. I mean, if I'm married and had a kid, but let's say I want to take my son to a Texas Rangers game. What I could do is, for his birthday or whatever, for a day trip, I could hop on the Heartland Flyer here at 7 a.m. at Oklahoma City and be in Fort Worth by, gosh, 8 or 9 o'clock, which is normally a 3 to 4 hour trip by road. And by the Heartland Flyer, I could be down there by 8:30, and I could hop a rental car at the passenger depot, drive another 15, 20, 30 minutes to Austin, and I have time to eat lunch, and I have time to hang out with my family and make a 2 o'clock Rangers game with my son. This is an example. So rail service is actually coming back in a way that it's revolutionizing the way people travel.
Yeah.
Which I think is important with today's society, because just like, for instance, I can't touch a ticket to the Portland Convention on a plane for less than $975 round trip.
Yeah, and with Uber these days, you know, you just have to pull out your cell phone and you could call Uber from anywhere and they know exactly where you are through the GPS and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Technology is crazy. And a little fun fact, well, it's not fun, it kind of destroys my heart. In Canada, we used to have extensive interurban lines where these trolley cars would meander through the countryside, picking people up, bringing them to the city, or bringing them back home. And Goodyear,
I've got a good news
the tire company.
I've got a good news point about that, about what Oklahoma City's doing when we get down into these further news stories. I actually have something that'll warm your heart that I've got a surprise for you. That'll be in topic number 5. But right now, Ron, speaking of technology, why don't you tell us about this issue about the FAA targeting drone hobbyists?
Hold up, I gotta finish my story. I got my fun fact.
Okay, go ahead.
You jumped all over my fun fact, buddy.
Sorry.
Goodyear, and well, you know, everybody knows that Detroit was the Motor City. Well, yeah. Goodyear Goodyear subsidized the sales of buses in cities to challenge the interurban rails, and their subsidy in the 50s was so effective that it totally destroyed that whole industry.
Yeah. That's, well, and that, you know why, don't you? Because that was more revenue for Goodyear to keep tires on the road.
That's big business. That's the way they work. Anyways, let's go to that next story there, buddy.
Okay, Ron, why don't you tell us about the changing technology of hobbying and how the government's getting involved with people's new developed hobbies of drones.
Your link sent me somewhere that doesn't really have the info. It's got a video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Read the caption below it.
Okay, the FAA issued a stern warning to hobbyists, drone users, after one almost crashed into a medical helicopter carrying a patient in Fresno, California. Commercial pilots have spotted 650 drones so far this year, compared to 238 sightings in 2014. And this is interesting because in California, they're having those wildfires happen all over the place. And there was a point in time where the fire crossed the highway, and there were these tanker airplanes that could not come in and drop the water on the fire because all the hobbyists were sitting there with their aerial drones taking video of the fire.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
yeah, so, you might, on one hand, you might think to yourself, well, what is a drone going to do to an airplane? But does an airplane ever fly into a flock of birds on purpose?
No.
They don't do this stuff because they don't, like, crashing kills. When you're flying an airplane, when you fall out of the sky, that is not a trivial thing.
That too. And Ron, if you think about it, it was preventing them from doing their job of saving lives by dropping water on the fires.
Totally. And in this case, what they're talking about here, there was a medical emergency where they're going from one place to another. So people are going to start going to jail because they're flying outside of their airspace.
Mm-hmm.
And the FAA, to further on this, I'm a tech geek, so I've heard all this. The FAA is doing a graphic and a ruling for certain airplanes and stuff like that. But when it comes to putting out fires, all that stuff goes to the side. Airspace, these planes have to drop low to precision drop this payload onto the fire. So don't be an idiot. That's basically what the moral of this story is.
Yeah. Well, and that leads us to our next story, Ron, that we're actually talking about, kind of in the same sense with Railfanning. Oh my gosh, we're getting into the foamers now. Oh my goodness, Ron, where are we leading with this?
I don't know. This is a can of worms, if you ask me.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get some big buzz on this one. You watch.
Okay,
well,
what's
the question that we brought up is, what is Operation Lifesaver doing to warn people about selfies on the main track? Well, this article actually struck me as quite interesting because they say they use the term main tracks. Now, let me indicate this, that the Operation Lifesaver California, when they released this article, used the term main tracks. Let me repeat, they use the term main tracks.
In other words, tracks that are actively being used on a daily basis, something that you cannot judge or prepare for, trains coming.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the selfies that are going on social media, do they appear to be main tracks? Or can you actually identify that they are possibly abandoned rails?
Yes, good point. Because, you can't tell if it's abandoned rail or not. Even if you know for sure it's an abandoned rail, people are trespassing when they go on the rails. We all know that. Okay? That's private property. However, cars pass over this private property every day. These train tracks go through people's properties, backyards,
their business. Hey, Ron, I'll give you an example. The whistle stop here in Oklahoma City, the main BNSF line runs 200 feet away from their parking lot.
Mm-hmm. The thing is that there is a lot of abandoned trackage in on our continent. You know, the rail created our continent. Now the trucks are doing it. So there's a lot of abandoned trackage, and there is no reason for the mob mentality of the internet to attack people for something they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, like when the police state moves to the citizenry, I just got to start shaking my head. I just have no idea what is going on. Like, I've seen so many of these foamers on Facebook totally say, you know, I'd rather shoot you than allow you to screw up my hobby and this and that and the other thing. Well, if you go around shooting people, you're going to screw up your hobby.
You're going to have a new hobby. It's going to be called a pinstripe suit behind bars.
Yeah, you know, so there's a point, you know, don't be going on high-speed rails to take a photograph and stuff like that. But if you are going to take a selfie photograph, do it on an abandoned trackage so that the only train that's coming past is a ghost train.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Ron, on that note, do we have any feedback from our audience right now before I move on?
Nothing yet. It's all good.
Okay. Well, speaking of rail service, I know we brought up your day trolley travel cars, but the other thing I was going to add that I did not have a link for.
Say that again. Say that all again, because you had an internet blooply bloop.
Okay. I know we talked about Texas passenger rail service, and you gave us that awesome Canadian story about taking the day trip to the beach on the trolley. There's one link that I could not find on that actually is a proposal that's that I'm going to add to this story, that there's a proposal in the Oklahoma City downtown renovation where we're going to actually restore full trolley service here in our city.
Oh, wouldn't that be so beautiful?
We're actually working on restoring trolley service, and that's what I couldn't wait to tell you because I wanted to grin when I said it.
Yeah,
I knew that brought up good memories for you. But on the note of that, the Tulsa World came out with an article last week that basically the Midwest rail service is going to be expanding. We actually only have opportunity for Amtrak to run with the Heartland Flyer between Oklahoma City and Fort Worth right now, but they're actually creating rail systems right now to go as far as to connect Fort Worth and Austin and all that with Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Kansas City, Wichita, St. Louis, and I believe Amarillo. And they're really passionate about giving people new alternatives to travel, which I think is really cool, like we've discussed in Subject 3. Well, the unique thing is, if you look at the Pennsylvania article I posted, it is exactly the identical same story and the same setup as what's happening in the Midwest. They're trying to revive in the northeastern part of the country.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if you look at the Tulsa World article and you look at the
it's not showing up properly, so I gave up.
The Transport Politic article, Pennsylvania is actually working to do the same thing to restore passenger rail service and increase it between Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and D.C. as their starting point.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And I can see St. Thomas there.
Yeah.
And London from where I live. In
oh,
yeah. Order.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. So passenger rail service is coming back. And I'm excited about it because if I ever have any kids, that's something I want to share as an experience with my kids of me maybe being the first time, if I ever have them, take them on a passenger rail trip.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that would be awesome.
Oh, totally.
Now, go ahead.
And like, it's such a wonderful thing, you know, like we've got all these oil troubles, you know, maybe cheap gases right now, but you just wait till they're not trying to stick it to Russia, you know?
Yeah.
So oil's going back up to crazy levels, and our technology is going electric, and, you know, maybe the transportation system is changing, but we're bringing back the best parts.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well,
That's a great story. I love that story.
now talking about travel, oh my gosh, we've got a big event coming up.
What is
What can we expect from the NMRA Convention in Portland?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness, what an event. Now, if I could afford it, I would be there personally, but I told Tom Barbalay I would be with him there in spirit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have got the cream of the crop of model railroad clinics. You have model railroad podcast hosts, Tom Barbalay, Lionel Strang, Scotty Mason. All these guys are going to be doing simulcasts from the convention. You have got the world-renowned National Train Show. And if you look at the list of activities, they're going to be having private tour buses for the NMRA registered members of local layouts
Awesome.
that have been selected by the NMRA as what they consider the cream of the crop of model railroad layouts. Now, this is where I want to talk about.
Okay.
The NMRA does such a great thing to keep the hobby going. And I really appreciate their format, their work, and what they do to keep the hobby interesting for people. I just wish they'd come to the Midwest more often. I've got to be honest. It seems like it's either East Coast or West Coast with them.
Oh, that's where the people are, and, you know, kind of. But
oh, I know. But hey,
I know.
I'm already foaming at the mouth there, pardon my term, because they're going to be coming to Kansas City in 2017.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. And I've actually got a personal invite from a model railroad friend of mine to actually come up and be his personal guest for the convention.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. I've already marked it on my calendar, buddy. 2 years out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the NMRA convention is such an awesome opportunity for modelers to connect and network. But it's also an opportunity that if you want to learn new tricks, new techniques, find out about new products, you've got a really good opportunity there if you can afford the $135 registration fee and the trip and travel to get up there. It's really an awesome thing. And I want to give a big shout out to Clark Cooning, which is going to bring me into my next story. Clark Cooning is actually working with the NMRA to see what they could do to partner with Operation Christmas Train Set.
Oh, that's cool.
As far as getting stuff into our hands to get the kids interested back into the hobby, which I just broke our new story that we're moving over into. So, Ron, I'm going to ask you the question from your point of view, and then I will jump in after this. What is all the buzz about OCTSF this year?
All the buzz about OCTF or OCTS. This whole acronym, buddy. We got to work on this. It's got one too many syllables. But
I will get with my marketing department.
Okay, I'll take the memo later. So, you know, for the last 10 years, I've always felt that I've been hearing a lot of experts in the hobby say that, you know, the kids aren't the way to get this hobby to grow. You got to get the people who have the money and force them to get interested into the hobby. Or not force them, but that's basically the analogy. That's really in real life analogy. But, you know, the opinions of a lot of people who've been keeping their head low is that the way people get into the hobby is the way traditionally we all got into the hobby. Well, I didn't get into the hobby that way. I've got a unique story that nobody's ever asked. I'll tell that story later. But most of the people who are in this hobby started with a train set when they were a kid.
Yeah.
Or specifically, they got a train set at Christmas.
You're talking to him.
Which started a lifelong passion that makes it through girls, cars, and university, and it is
even football.
It's amazing that we can overlook this glaring omission, that was a double negative there. But, it's amazing how we can overlook how traditionally everybody got into the hobby. I say that 75% of people in the hobby got into this because they got a train set as a kid, and the other 25% got into this hobby because their children were Thomas fans, which is both cases because of a child or because you were a child.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing about it is, Ron, is with OCTSF, our goal is not only to provide a Christmas present that fills a basic need, but it sparks a new interest in a new generation about the hobby. And this is the cool thing is I've got people approaching me with project ideas of how we can get into our community and mentor and expose the hobby to a brand new generation that honestly, in my opinion, has lost its creativity skills because they're sitting there doing this on their phones or their iPads all day.
Yeah. It's such a good point, that people, they want to help grow the hobby. They just don't know how. And the second you tell them, man, we're going to give a train set to kids, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I can do that. And it's, OCTS at the time of this recording doesn't have the 501c, but you are well on the way in the process. What are you, 80% done?
Yeah. We are actually we are through our third step of initial questions with the IRS. Our application is being processed and sent to us to officially file here in 2 weeks, and then we're looking at 4 months out to be reviewed by the IRS and give a green light or a red light.
So the buzz about OCTS this year is we're giving the hobby back to kids. Get over it and get on the train.
Sounds good. Now that we're speaking about hobbies, what can we look forward to in the fall lineup of the Model Railroad Instructors Show?
We can look forward to starting again in September.
Man, you stole my thunder. What's up? What kind of stuff are we going to be talking about? I mean, come on, give us a little taste.
Well, I've started breaking up the videos so that it's not just a great big show, because all of a sudden the show started going like this. And, nobody wants to watch a show that's more than an hour long.
Yeah.
Listening to a radio podcast, you could sit there and fiddle around the shop while listening to it, no problem. You don't have to be glued to the screen, but with the video medium, the visual medium, some people, you kind of, it's your eyes drawn to it, because sometimes we're a train wreck, people gotta watch a train wreck. So it's, you gotta keep the time down, and that's something I've learned. Sometimes people were a little mean in the way they said that to us, but we got the message. It's going to keep the show short. It's going to be more concise. We're going to take the interviews and make them their own thing. I've branded those Meet the Modeler interviews. We've got some very cool modelers coming out. We got Ali Alamedi from Iraq.
Cool.
Ali escaped, war-torn Iraq and moved to the general security of Turkey, and he's been doing some wonderful modeling. We talked to him how, the stress in life really brings out your best work. Sometimes when you're really stressed out, the best thing you could ever do is sit down and create.
Yeah.
That passion that comes out is, where you're attaching your hobby to a very nasty situation and making something beautiful out of it. And I think that's just pure magic. We also interviewed Ramon Rhodes, who is he is a wonderful equipment painter / weatherer. He really, we've seen some greats in the hobby, and I'm not talking down on their stuff. Gary Christensen can really whack out a model that is exactly like the picture, all the pit marks and stuff like this in trains. But, Ramon really shares with me how doing subtle weathering really goes a long way in weathering and photographing your models. So and then another one is I'm talking to my mentor, a person who taught me a lot, Joe LeMay, and a former employee, or employer. Well, he never worked for me. The original founder of Imagine That Laser Art, my favorite model railroad company, local model railroad company.
Cool. So, also, what is just a real quick note as far as we talked about a little bit about getting kids back into the hobby. What is model railroad instructorship doing to unite the community of model railroading?
Not much.
Not much. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay. Now we got something more serious to talk about. What we've all been waiting for. Dun, dun, dun. What has Walthers come up with now? Now, the reason why I am bringing this up as an important point, and I'm plugging Walthers today, is because they are clearly near and dear to the heart of me and Operation Christmas Train Set. Just to give them a big shout out, they sent 7 brand new unopened train sets for different age group appropriations for us to distribute to kids in need this Christmas.
Wow! So
you'll be seeing a lot of updates of us taking those train sets to the families, identifying them with photos of them opening their Christmas gifts, and then a big promotional plug via social media as a thank you video of all of those train sets being received by the kids that we're going to actually present to Walthers in January as a new continuing partner of Operation Christmas Train Set.
Dustin, what accomplishment. Congratulations, buddy. Is this your first corporate sponsor?
Yes, sir, it is.
That must feel good.
Yes, sir. And
my goodness.
And I'm proud and I'm thankful to have them on board. And anything I can do to put their products out there and ask people to support them, I'm going to do everything within my power.
You know what? Look, I remember how I felt when, who was it? Brian Bollinger and, who's the other guy? I'll just say their company names. Best Trains and Full Steam Ahead sent me a couple of kits each. My first sponsorship. And
wow.
I was going through a real hard time in my life, and holy smokes, that made me feel like $1 million. And it's the reason why I'm still doing what I'm doing today is those Joe Rudder. I remembered. So I know what it feels like to be accepted by, companies in the hobby and to get, have them be on your side.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good
Yeah.
job, buddy. Good
Thank
job.
you. Now, Ron, do me a favor and go to that link and pull up the page of list of updated products for August 15th, 2015. And there's a special section I want to highlight in here today. It's called Scratch Building Supplies, which is near and dear to the Model Railroad and Structure Show. And you'll see some unique items that they've actually come up with in the form of prefabbed sheets of shingles,
Okay.
building sides, and windows and doors.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually custom paint and custom design to your specifications when building a model structure.
Oh, so something I see here that is it's historically we've always known that to get Walthers stuff, you had to go to a hobby shop to get this stuff. But it looks like you can order directly from Walthers online. It looks like they're figuring out the whole system of internet like we were talking about at the top of the show.
Yeah, that's why Walthers is the, I just noticed I read an article in Model Railroad magazine that was a few months back, a prior issue, Model Railroader, indicated that Walthers, because they have partnerships with the top manufacturers in the model railroad industry, that they are the top distributor
Oh yeah.
of model railroad items.
I just gotta say though, it's not a new item because this is a tile shingle sheet from a Master Creations kit, and they are circa 1993 or the 1990s.
Well, they're bringing some of them back.
Yeah, so I've got a box full. Like these come from a Full Steam Ahead kit. This is a RS Laser kit. This one, these black ones come. I've got a whole box. Campbell scale models from the 70s made their own. These aren't laser cut, but these are the, I've got a whole box.
Yeah.
Whole box of shingles, and this stuff will make the roof of your model realistic in a couple of seconds.
Oh yeah. Now speaking of structures, no structure's complete without scenery around it, right?
Yep.
Go back one and go back to the scenery section of updated August 15th.
All right, let's get in here. You're putting me to work, Dustin. Not many people do this.
Hey, it's called.
Okay, go back, and we go to scenery.
Yes, sir.
Look at that.
Now, this is something that I've had a debate about since I have been model railroading. I have had a, let's just put it this way. I've had arguments in front of me of model railroaders that have created this debate of coarse versus fine ballast.
Oh.
But this is the first time that I have seen a coarse gravel that you cannot necessarily have to use it for ballast. You can use it for gravel roads.
Yeah.
Like up to your driveway. Down here in the Midwest, because we're in farm town, basically, you have a lot of gravel roads and you have a lot of gravel graded driveways that go from the main road to the farmhouse.
Yeah.
And so when I try to portray something in the Midwest, when I am modeling for Toby Keith Foundation or Center for Family Love or whoever I'm building a table for, I try to replicate it the best way possible that fits the time and the era as well as the location of the thing is in. And I found personally this gravel to be very effective for stuff outside of doing ballasting tracks?
Mm-hmm. Well, as a professional structure builder, I don't buy ballast and stuff like that because I have an idea of the color and I know where to get it. And through experience, I know how to make my own stuff. But if you're looking for an immediate color match that is realistic to a railroad right off the bat, like if maybe you're colorblind, there's a lot of people who are colorblind, maybe you've got in your local area a red clay, and that doesn't work in your modeling. Or maybe, getting these colored gravels or ballasts from Walthers, you're getting the right color right away. So there's a merit to that.
And it's not just, and I noticed with Walthers, and if you go down to one more section, Ron, we're going to look at the tools real quick. And this is one thing that fascinated me, was this nail holes and rafter guide by Motrack Models. And this nail holes and rafter guide, I have found out, I just bought one of those the other day when I was nailing down the track for one of the tables I was doing, because for some strange reason, my track nails were getting off guide. They were bending, they were going the wrong direction, and they didn't set well in the, or they would bust the hole, the track with, that you nail the track down with. This nail hole guide was phenomenal.
That's a good point because jigs, I'm a former carpenter, and making a jig is just the part of the job, just to get things done proper, quickly, and on, square and true. So using a jig is an essential part of the hobby. And like the ballast, of course, I make my own jigs, but if you don't immediately have the jig envisioned in your mind, it's going to be a big challenge to do it. So this is good advice, Dustin. No matter what people say, it's hard sometimes to wrap your head around the color of an object, the size of an object, or what it is that you're really trying to do. And through, sometimes, like I often buy first and recreate later. I kind of try to copy through scratch building after the fact. But, I'm not lying at all. I often go and buy something just to see what it looks like and get it in my hands to be able to put it together. And I know that Motrack that makes a great product.
Yeah. And I really give Walthers a thumbs up, because I've noticed lately that in their selection of new product features, they're actually building a list of products that's the cream of the crop as far as top-notch modeling products. And if I had to buy in bulk to do what I do, it would definitely be from Walthers.
Yeah.
I can go through their website and I can type in exactly what I'm looking for, and even mistype a word that's related to the item, and I pull up exactly what I need.
All they need to do is get a hold of my buddy Martin Welberg's, because his grass pads are awesome.
Yeah.
They made my modeling this year, and I don't see them in here. I know he's being supported by a competitor, but hopefully they get a hold of my friend Martin Welberg. Scenery and stuff on Facebook, Walthers.
Yeah, definitely. Ron, let's do a quick recap of what we've talked about today.
Okay, and then wrap it up.
Why we picked these topics.
Go for it.
Go for the first three.
Oh.
First three are yours, man. They're all yours, man.
Oh, my goodness. Putting me on the spot.
That's what a news anchor does.
So, yeah, we talked about the hobby shops. We talked about restoring rail service, and we talked about crazy hobbyists with their drones and Operation Lifesaver. And let's settle down with the mob tent mentality, shall we? Let's be
then
social.
We talked about further rail service in different parts of the country. We highlighted the fun part of the biggest event of the year for the National Model Railroad Association, which is the NMRA Convention, which I hope everybody can bring us back some good feedback. I'd actually like to have, Ron, this is one suggestion I'd like to make, is maybe have some people that were actually physically at the convention come on the show and talk about their experience with the NMRA.
You know what, though, Dustin? I have a feeling like our friend Tom Barbalet at Model Rail Radio is going to have that wrapped up, because he's talking to these people, and his show is great for getting information out. Yeah,
for sure. I have to give him a big plug too, Ron, because of your tenacity.
Stop all that stuff.
Your connections. I now have a lasting relationship with Tom Barbalet for Operation Christmas Train Set Foundation, where I'm welcome on his show every month because of you, buddy.
You know what? It's all in the sharing of the hobby. You don't take everything for yourself. You don't be a selfish person. You don't point the mirror onto yourself. You contribute. And that means contributing to your competitors.
Yeah. And on the updates OCTSF, we talked about having Walthers as a major corporate sponsor, which I think is a good small step, but it was a good big step as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this year brings for Christmas for the kids and for trains and stuff we got planned next year. And then we also covered what to look forward on the Models, Railroad, and Structure Show. So we got a good lineup for you this fall. Hopefully, with us going to this once a month format, it'll make it a lot easier to bring quality content, fascinating topics, and a great lineup of conversation about modeling in the model railroad industry. And then what did Walthers come up with next?
Yeah.
And so I think this is going to be a regular feature, if it's okay with the producer.
It's all good.
A regular feature as we progress with these programs. And we'd love your feedback. We would love contact Ron or I on social media through YouTube. We'd like to have your feedback on the show today, and also what you think we should bring up for future shows. We're always open to suggestions. Am I right, Ron?
Yeah. Thank you for coming on doing this show with me, Dustin. You tell that lady that we know there at that Big W. She knows what my email address is.
I love it.
That's a good way to stop the show. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. That's the first episode of this month in Model Railroad News.
Good night, everybody.